All right, it is Saturday, July 27th. By my calendar, that puts me exactly 2 weeks from the start of my French adventure. 2 weeks from now, I'll be on a plane somewhere over the U.S., heading for France, and lots to talk about as the day gets closer. So welcome to episode 34 of PBP Tips. So let me start off by apologizing if I sound a little hoarse. Picked up a little chest bug during the week. I feel fine, but it sounds a lot worse than it is. Anyway, as the ride is getting closer, I think we're all starting to get into a weather watch mode. And in particular, with the news that's coming out of France and pretty much all of Europe about the heat wave over there. Yeah, if you've been watching it all, any of the French language coverage, you've learned a new French word, canicule, or heat wave. It's been incredibly hot in Paris. From what I read, they set an all-time record for the hottest day ever in Paris. They opened up all the fountains in town, let people go swim around in them to cool off. Because one thing you should be aware of is that air conditioning, while very common here in the US, is very rare in France. Article I read said something like 5% of homes have air conditioning. I mean, partly because they don't need it most of the time, but also just a cultural thing. They just don't believe in it. Costs a lot, has environmental effects. So if it is hot and you're over there in France, count on being hot. You're not going to find a whole lot of places to stay with air conditioning. So the heat wave seems to be breaking. It should be a lot cooler today in Paris than it was yesterday or the day before. The 10-day forecast, which is as far out as my weather apps go, is showing temperatures in the high 70s, low 80s. And important to note that it has been cooler out in the western reaches of the course, out toward the ocean. So even if it is very hot in Paris, it'll be cooler further out. However, it looks like the weather is turning more temperate. So as the ride gets closer, I anticipate not being so worried about temperature as about precipitation, and see if we can have, for once, a reasonably dry year. I've been rained on every time in 3 editions of PBP. I would love to not get rained on. Now, if it is hot over there, of course, you'll have to take whatever normal preparations you do for riding in hot weather. A couple things to keep in mind, though, that may be different from certainly riding in the States. One is that there are not a whole lot of 7-Elevens or mini-marts out on the course to duck into and get something cold. You will find stores in the villages, and they may not be there when you need them. So I pointed out before, if you're in need of something like fluids or food and you see a place to stop, you're probably a good idea to stop and get it, because you may not see another store for a while. The other thing to keep in mind is that ice is a much more precious commodity in France than it is here. If you go to a restaurant and get a glass of water, you have to ask to have ice in it. They don't put it in there normally, and you're not going to find a whole bunch of ice at the rest stops. You may not find ice at a store if you go there. You may find cold drinks, but not ice. So, for instance, if it's very hot, I will ride with a Camelback, which I'll fill most of the way with ice and then a little bit of water, so the ice kind of melts down and keeps me, supplied with very nice chilled water for a long time. It's harder to do that in France because they just don't believe in ice. Just a French thing. Now, as the ride is getting closer, of course, people's plans are changing. Someone gets injured or work comes up, whatever. And I've been reading that hotels in the start town of Rambouillet are starting to have availability again. People who had asked about that a few months ago and were told everything is full are now hearing that rooms are opening up. So if you're still looking for some place to stay in the start town, go check again, because some rooms may have opened up. It's very common on an event like this with so many people that a certain number aren't going to make it. So there's still an opportunity to stay close in and not have to deal with the trains and the bike transport and everything to get yourself to the start on time. If you're flying there with your bike, this is probably a good time to check out and make sure that you're complying with all of the baggage requirements, etc. for your bike. Some of the carriers I know want you to call them at least a couple days in advance, let them know that you're coming with a bike box. Probably also a good idea to check with them on specifically what the requirements are for size and weight. Some of them are different. And also probably a good idea to check and see how much they're going to charge to put your bike on the plane. Now, Delta has recently eliminated bicycle fees. Now, they'll still charge, if it's applicable, their luggage fees for a bike, but they won't charge an extra fee for a bike box. But that's only if you bought your ticket after July 15th. I checked because I bought my tickets through Delta. So I'm putting 2 bags into checked baggage. For instance, for Delta, the first one is free. The second one, if it's a regular suitcase, is $100. So if I bought my ticket today, my bike box would cost $100. Because I bought my ticket a few months ago, it's going to be $150. So I just kind of missed out on that one, but just something to keep in mind. If you're making last term plans, you can save $100 round trip on Delta by using their new bike baggage charge. So just a few other things to talk about. One is, my PBP box is starting to fill up with little things that I come across as I'm just kind of looking at things. If I come across something that I know I'm going to need over there, I just go ahead and throw it in the box so I don't forget about it, because I will inevitably say, oh yeah, I'll put that in my suitcase later and then forget about it. So that is starting to fill up. I'm going to put my bike in a box this weekend. That's on my definite list of to-dos. Get that over and done with. I hate doing that, so I just want to get it over and done with. Get it all packed up and ready to put on the plane. I'm riding, but not too much, just kind of, maintain some fitness. I mentioned, I think in my last episode, that I'm not trying to gain a whole bunch of fitness over the last few weeks, so it's more just, a little bit of maintenance riding. Focus on not crashing and not damaging the bike or myself, staying healthy. I do expect this little chest thing to go away in a few days. Not worried about that at all. Starting to make some clothing choices. I always like to get my 3 sets of clothes that I'm going to wear ready, put away in different numbered Ziploc bags. They all go in my drop bag. So day of the ride, I pull out number 1, put that stuff on. Numbers 2 and 3 stay in the drop bag. And just kind of making sure that everything is getting in place so that the last day of packing is not a huge, huge stressful event. Start charging up some batteries. I got the headlights on my helmets. I'm going to charge those up this weekend because I'm probably not going to use them between now and then. Just make sure they're topped off. And of course I'll bring the charger with me, but as much as I can, I like to have everything with a battery in it fully charged and ready to go for the ride. Nothing like showing up and your lights don't work or whatever because you forgot to charge them. So once again, best wishes to everyone who's going over to France. I hope to see you there. as I said, I'll be on a plane in 2 weeks, heading over to Paris. I'll be showing up in Rambouillet, by the way, on the Friday before the ride, so look for me there. Love to see any of my viewers in real life for the first time. And a reminder that I'll be posting on my Instagram and Twitter feeds leading up to and during the ride. Probably a little bit of video as well. Probably not any video during the ride, so I don't want to take the time, but we'll see what I can fit in. So I'll post links to both of those down in the description. And that's it for this time. If you're not already subscribing, I invite you to do so. And go ahead and hit that subscription button and hit the bell to get notified of future videos. And I will see you on the road in the next episode of PBP Tips. See you then.